people.
Let's give it 15 minutes. 15 minutes, 15 seconds. Right, let's go. So we are live, Zac and TT, for the full season review of the Millwall season 2020-21. 2020-2021. Yeah, that does make sense.
2021, yeah.
We did say we was going to do a live video with questions and answers. So, obviously, as along, join in. We're going to rate each individual player. We're going to run down our rating, and I've got a buzzword, or maybe 2 or 3 words for each individual player. And we're going to go through it like that. Are you happy with that?
Yeah.
To be fair, he's the one that keeps on at me about doing live videos. Obviously, if you're not watching this live and you're watching it back because you couldn't join us live, then put in your comments your player of the season, who you felt has the most improved player of the season. And then if you want to rate each individual player like we're rating each individual player, please do so. And then we'll compare them at the end. Obviously, we expect more people to join throughout it and at different times. But yeah, if you rate, we're going to go through the squad. We're going to, like I said, we're going to individually rate each player. We're also going to say whether that player is likely to be here next season, or whether we think, more importantly, whether we think that player should be there next season. Then we're going to go through some transfer targets, and we're going to break down our highlights and low points of the season. And that's how we're going to go.
Yeah.
So we'll start off with, obviously, the goalkeeper. No better place to start than Bartosz Białkowski. So your thoughts and feelings about Bartosz?
I think he's one of the best. I think he's the best keeper I've seen at Millwall. He's kept so many clean sheets, made so many good saves, and kept us in games. So I'm going to give him a 10 out of 10.
I can't disagree with you any more than that. Bartosz Białkowski, we started it with it. He's obviously the number one, and he is my player of the season without a doubt. He's played 44 games this season, so consistent. Obviously, you can remember his mistakes because he doesn't make many. So Bartosz Białkowski, my player of the season, he made the mistake, Wickham away. Funny enough, it's with his footwork that he makes the most amount of mistakes. Saving and diving is his strong point. And he's just so steady. We just have had so many keepers that have made rickets, and he just doesn't seem to do them on a consistent basis. So for me, the word for Bartosz Białkowski this season is good evening, Jonesy. Thanks for being the first comment on here. My rating for Bartosz is number 10, and my word for Bartosz Białkowski is consistent, because that is what you get from him each week. We'll now move on to our right wing backs. We'll start off with Marlon Romeo, who obviously started the season, 33 appearances. Good evening, Mick. So the North London Mill Supporters Club. So you need to be repping us up there. Marlon Romeo, the right wing back, started the season obviously 33 games, has got 1 goal. I felt like he started the season well, then started to drop off. I think he's got better since Danny McNamara's come in terms of, I felt that his best game of the season, ironically, was playing that right centre-back position. For me, he gets a steady 7. What about for you, Zac?
7.5 for me.
7.5. I was a little bit disappointed when he seemed to drop his head. He got a little bit disenfranchised with the fans. I think it maybe took him a little bit of time to get back to maybe loving playing football again. And I think he's got there, and now we're back up. Lion Wall, thank you very much. Good evening to you too. So 7 for Marlon. Danny Mac, 14 appearances. Sorry, I'll give my hi, Chris. Bar 8.5, 1 or 2 early errors, but excellent. Yeah, we've both given him 10 to be fair, because he's our player of the season. I don't think you can. Well, I'll go on questions at the end. I'll remember the European Super League. So we've just my word for Marlon Romeo was athletic. I think that's what he brings to you every single game. So Danny Mac, 14 appearances. What would you rate Danny Mac this season?
I rated him a 9 because I still think there's a lot of things to come from him, and he's started playing for the Lions very, very confidently, and he looks very good at right back.
I agree with that, and I disagree with that. I think he's given him a way too high of a mark for what he's produced this season. Obviously, started the season on loan at St Johnstone, done really well there. Came in, went straight into the team against Boreham Wood. Impressed me a number of times. You know, his delivery of the ball is better than Marlon. I actually think he's a better attacking player than Marlon, and sometimes a slightly better defender. Positionally, obviously, he's got a bit to learn. But overall, for me, the word for Danny Mack is promising, and I'd easily give him a 7. So Chris has given Romeo a 6. Very little going forward and a bit loose defensively. You can't argue with that, although I do think he was better in that back three. So now we'll move over to the left side. And Scott Malone, 39 appearances, 4 goals, which makes him, I think, our third highest goal scorer, which is where the problems are at. As you'll see, we'll break down the players. Defensively, I think throughout is where the strong point is. The further forward we get, other than a few different individuals, that's where we get lower marks. Scott Malone, like I said, 39 appearances, 4 goals. Obviously, great goals against Preston and Sheffield Wednesday. A lot of the games, he's been our most attacking player. He's always the one arriving into the box late. Probably should have got more goals. What's your rating and thoughts of Scott Malone?
I think he's quite quick. His throwings are very good actually, which helps the team because we have a lot of tall strikers. I feel like I can give him a 9 out of 10 for how well and how many cracking goals he scored as well.
So Jonesy's gone for Malone being his player of the season. And it's hard to argue with that. I gave him, to be fair, an 8. Zac, you gave him a 9.
Yeah.
And Jones is giving him player of the season. So what's it called? My word for Scott Malone is exciting because I think that's what he brings to the team. A little bit more vulnerable at the back, but going forward, I think he's really a challenge. Edwin, good evening to you too. I have heard about changing the badge. I don't think it's happening. I think that's just something that's getting banded about. The other left wing back, probably Muzza is the other one, the man mounting himself. Obviously, he's been out of the team through injury recently. He's only made 23 appearances, has got 1 goal. Do you want to just give your rating for Murray Wallace?
The absolute brick wall deserves an 8.
So he's given him an 8. I've given him a 7, which I think you'd probably give him higher. He's so dependable. And the word I've got for Muzza is versatile because he plays in that left wing back position. He plays at centre back. He's played on the right centre back position. He's played right wing back, I think, even once this season. So he's played all across the back 4. And you know what you're going to get with him. And it's a steady performance nearly every single week. Chris has given Malone an 8 and Murray Wallace a solid 7. So similar to ours. Then we move on to Jake Cooper, 40 appearances. Surprisingly, only 1 goal. I was actually very surprised that Cooper and Hutchinson have got 2 goals between them. And considering how much of an aerial threat they are, I was really surprised that they've only got 2 goals.
And Cooper's, I think, is from his feet as well.
Yeah, so... Was he?
Yeah. He banged it right in, top bins.
I can't even remember. I'm assuming it was a header because that's where he looks so dangerous from corners, but obviously he doesn't really get the goals. But for me, Jake Cooper is, Mr. Dependable, in the lineup every week, nearly every week, other than when he dislocated his shoulder for the 2nd time.
Yeah.
It gets a solid 8 for me. You, Cooper?
10 out of 10.
You've given Jake Cooper a 10 out of 10.
I really, really like Cooper. Maybe just in training, Rowett needs to work on Cooper's headers towards goal.
Towards goal, yeah.
If he could improve on that, he could be a very, very good goal scoring defender and defender.
Yeah, the words for him, I've got clearances and blocks, 2 things that he does really well. He's so solid, so every single week. Both Coops and Hutch a 9 or a 10. And so I've given Cooper 8, you've given him 10. I think I was a little bit harsh on Cooper, to be honest. Hutchinson, 39 appearances, 1 goal. I think he's been better, more consistent than Jake Cooper.
He's had 2 clearances off the line.
2 clearances, 3 clearances off the line, attacking-wise. But the thing he does better than anybody else in the league, actually, is his interceptions. He intercepts the ball absolutely better than anybody. He seems to always be in the right place at the right time. Yes, he's not great passing out from the back or joining in the attack, which is what Rowett wants from the wide centre-backs. But you know what you're going to get with Hutch. He's defensively very solid. We've kept so many clean sheets, and that's no small part down to him. Obviously, so my word for him was interceptions, and I gave Hutch a 9 out of 10. Zach, what did you give him?
I also give him a 10 out of 10.
So, you can't argue with it, to be fair. The centre-backs have been so solid consistently. We've had maybe 3 or 4 games where we've dropped off a level and not been at the peak of what we expect. But I think that's where we've created trouble for ourselves on that transition. As soon as we seem to give the ball away, and then we invite pressure on them, and when we're not in that structure that we're normally in, we're not in the shape, that's when we tend to concede goals, and that's because we can't, we haven't really got the players to play out from the back as best as we'd want them, but they still do their job. Every player we've said so far, I would keep for next season. So Bart, Marlon, Danny Mack, I don't know whether Marlon will stay, but Danny Mack, Scott Malone, Muzza, Cooper and Hutch, they'd all stay for me. Would you agree?
Yeah.
So now we're going to the first player that I wouldn't keep at the club, and it's a little bit harsh, but that's Alex Pearce. 24 appearances, no goals. This is even harsher. The word that I've got for was 2 words for Alex Pearce is League One, and that's unfortunately where he is at the moment. I think the leadership that he brings to the team is invaluable. However, we need players to play on the pitch. We need players to be able to deal with the intensity and pace that the Championship brings. And I just think Alex Pearce has just lost that. He's not even that old. I think he's early 30s. He's not that old.
Yeah, he looks about 33.
He does look older than he actually is. But I just think that he's off the pace now, and he's come to the stage where I think that he needs to go. I'm slightly harsh with my rating, if I'm honest, because he has had a really good couple of games recently, but I've given him a 6 out of 10. What have you given him?
7.
So 6 and 7 for Alex Pearce. I think he's been a better captain. I like how he's kept the boys going, but physically as a player on the pitch, I think it's time for him now to go down to League One. Now we're going to the first of the transfers that we bring. Obviously, Danny Mack was one of our players that we've recalled from loan, but George Evans, an excellent signing.
Oh yeah.
From Gary Rowett, and our season turned around. Because we started off really well. We scraped a couple of good wins. Obviously good wins in the cup. We beat Rotherham, but the season turned around. He was a better temporary manager, Chris. That's a good point. He was cheering us on at Preston, wasn't he? When we won up there, I think it was our first away win. But no, Rotherham was our first away win. But I do think that this player, Gary Rowett's transfers turned us around. We started the season reasonably well against lower opposition. Then we went for a really tough patch, not picking up wins, then loads of draws, and we were going really bad, even up until January, even though we had the FA Cup win. But the players that Rowett brought in gives me hope for next season, because there's going to be massive turnover of players. There has to be. But George Evans was one of them. Kefton Beldy brought in. Obviously, Zahore's not worked out, but George Evans for me, I think he's been absolutely superb. Obviously, a little bit shaky as centre back in one of the last games. I think he's been really good in midfield. For me, even though he's only played since January, gets an 8, 17 appearances, 1 goal, and I've used 2 words for him, and it's massive difference because quality tells, and that's what he gives you. What would you say about Evans?
I think he's amazing in the midfield. Pass it off to our wingers. He's good. He's all right with his feet, and I give him a 9 out of 10.
9 out of 10. It's hard to argue. I think he's made a massive difference in keeping that midfield compact. Then we move on to Ryan Leonard. Obviously started the season really well. Was good in midfield. Covered again, another one of the utility players in the squad, went to centre-back. I think long-term, he's going to be used more as a centre-back than a midfielder. I don't know what you lot think about that, but I think that's the plan for him long-term, is to have Lenny. Maybe it's his legs, maybe it's keeping him safe from injury, but I think Lenny's going to be another option in those centre-back positions moving forward. I felt that he scored. I think he's only scored 1 goal, which is a surprise because when he scores goals, they're only absolute bangers.
Top bins halfway line.
Yeah, Badgers put, we can't complain because we're we are Millwall, so we're going to complain regardless. But yeah, I do think it's been a successful season. And this season for me is always going to be remembered for 2 things: 1, COVID, and we've not been able to go, which is horrible, and 2, we lost my dad and Zach's granddad, which is our inspiration, and the love of football and the love of Millwall comes from him. And so this season is always going to be the season where I lost him. And the first time we go back to the Den, and he's not going to be here. It's going to be a very hard moment and a great moment at the same time. I feel emotional just thinking about it, so I'm not going to go into it any further. And we'll move on to Ryan Woods. So talking about emotional, that's going to make a load of Millwall fans emotional, because Ryan Woods absolutely splits opinion throughout our whole fan base. I think personally he's the best ball playing player on the pitch. I think that he adds control, he adds temperament, he adds the ability to spray the ball around, and he's the only player that has that ability at the moment in the centre of midfield. And I just think that, yes, he is a little bit negative, but once we've seen him get into further forward positions, he's so dangerous. I remember just the balls that he plays in and around the box, it just no one else can do it. For me, Woods, it's got three words, but best ball player was for him. And I've given him a 7 out of 10. What have you given him?
I've given him and Leonard an 8 because we forgot to thingy Leonard.
Marmite is the right word for him, Badger. Yes, he very much is the ginger Marmite. That's what we should call him because he really does spit opinion. Leonard, I put down as I think I'll give him a 7. Yeah, I did give him a 7. Well, and now we'll move on to someone else that spits the fan base. And that's Ben Thompson. Some fans will tell you he's the second coming of Christ and he's Millwall through and through. Another Millwall fans will tell you he's absolute League One quality and can't stand on his feet. To be fair, I think he's in the middle of both of them. You know, consistently, he's not trusted by. In my opinion, he's not trusted by Rowett. I cannot see him being here next season, which is a shame. It's disappointing that he's not going to be here next year because he's a Millwall fan. He's Millwall through and through. You know, his dad's a quality fella, and you want players like that in and around the team. But I don't know whether he has the quality for the Championship, and because we don't get to see it enough, and because when he has had the chance, he seems to be so excited to be on the pitch that he just can't keep his feet. And for me, for that reason, you know, 28 appearances. Sorry, the word for him is tenacious. I've given him a 6 out of 10. I don't know how you can give him any more than that. What have you given him?
I'll give him a 6.5 out of 10.
So both in the 6s. What's your ratings for Tom? I've seen a couple of. Sorry, Chris, you put all of them up at the same time, which was difficult to read. But he's someone he's probably going to go. And you're right, Steve. I can see him at a club like Pompey. Pompey may even come up. There's hope that they hold on to the playoff position because the ones below them are Charlton. You know, League One, you know, I think even Ipswich can still qualify for the playoffs with 2 games to go, and I think they're 13th. So no one wants the playoffs. Like the year we went up in the League One playoffs, everyone tried to throw it away, and we were the ones that managed to scrape into the playoffs. And obviously, we know what happened at Wembley. That was a nice little goal by Morrow at the back post. We'll now move to the other central midfielder that's made a massive difference, in my opinion. Again, I think some Mill fans don't see what he does, but if you got ball players around him. Mr. Kefton Bell, Big Keith, he wins the ball back as long as he can stay fit. I think if we can keep him fit all season, I think he's going to be a very, very good acquisition. Someone that has impressed me in what he does. He does the dirty work, and that's what sometimes you need a player in the team that can do that. Badger's gone for 6 for Tomo, and yes, I've been really impressed with Kefton Bell. 10 appearances. The word for him I've got is battle, which I think he does every single game, and I've given him a 7. What have you given him? You've been very generous with him.
You give him a 6.
Oh, I'll give him a 6. Oh, you give him 7.5. I'll give him a 7. I changed my mind. I'm a little bit more thingy. And now we move on to Sean Williams. Sean Williams is someone that I think my word for him is actually assured. It is assured. When he's on the pitch, you know what he's going to do. You know what he's going to bring the team. He seems to have, a brain above his footballing ability to a certain degree because he's so calm and collected on the ball. Needs to speed up a little bit, but he's not at the level you need for a Championship team. He's not got the legs in him anymore. He's not going to be, in my opinion, he shouldn't be in the playing team for next year. And for that reason, he's going to get a 6. But it's harsh because I like the guy. He seems like a fantastic dad as well in and around the club. And I've met him at the Junior Lions Christmas party. And I think that's important. Good people. We've got good people in the dressing room. So this big transition that we're going to have this year is going to be hard to bring the right characters in. And like I said, we're going to go through some transfer targets that both me and Zac are looking at and who we think we're going to go. But so Willow, I've given a 6. What's yours, Zac?
I've given him I have went over more than you every single time. I've went 6.5.
I think that's the joys of youth. He's a little bit more generous than his mean old measly dad. Now we'll move on to the boy wonder, Billy Mitchell. If you watch the channel, which you obviously do because you're here supporting the probably the best channel, Millwall channel on YouTube. Who knows?
Maybe the best ever channel.
Little asterisks, the best ever channel. I don't think we're going to get away with that one. But Billy Mitchell has been a revelation for me. Someone that's calm, collected on the ball. Obviously, he probably had his worst game in a Millwall shirt on Saturday against Bournemouth. You know, signing a new contract. Who knows how that would have affected him? You know, maybe put a bit more pressure on him. You really don't know. But I was impressed with how he came through that game and got better as the game went on, because it's always going to be difficult to make an error giving away a penalty. My word for Billy Mitchell is hungry, because I think he's hungry to improve. He's a great professional already, speaks well, you know, has come from our academy, and I see the future's bright. The future is Billy Mitchell, and I really do believe that. So I'm only going to give him a 7 out of 10, but going forward for next year, I'm really excited about what we're going to see. What have you given him?
Well, with what you've given him, I think I'm a bit biased. I've given him an 8.5.
So Jones has given him, he said his quality, and you're right, that's probably why Tomo won't last, because if you compare the two, Billy Mitchell's a better player than Tomo, and that's disappointing.
Billy Mitchell can actually keep his feet stuck in the ground.
Yes, although we will never forget Ben Thompson's chested down goal against Shrewsbury. What a goal that was. We were looking straight down at it. It was an absolute banger at the time. Billy's fantastic. It is Mill fan bias, but I don't care. We're allowed to have some fan bias. You know, he's one of our own, and obviously with Danny McNamara growing up in the shirt, it's going to make them maybe fight a little bit harder for the shirt. Who knows? But Billy obviously is going to stay. We're now going to move on to the wide midfielders. And we're going to start with a player that won't be here next year as far as I'm concerned. That's Shane Ferguson. 13 appearances, only 2 starts in 13 games. And, you know, my word for him is anonymous, because he hasn't really been in and about the team. You know what he's going to bring. I don't like the fact he never seems to take players on. He seems to cut back on himself. I think he'd be a good acquisition for someone in League One, because if his set-piece delivery is good, he can still provide a service for a team, but it's just not championship level for me, and just hasn't really done anything. So for that reason, I've given him a 5.
I've given him a 6.
You're well generous. You know what? You should do my ratings at work. Steve Lloyd's put it right, League One standard, and I don't disagree at all.
That is very true.
Now we're going to move to Conor Mahoney. I've just said about Ferguson being anonymous, and now we're going to a player that's pretty much been anonymous, but when he's on the pitch, he's a difference maker, and I think someone that can only get better and better and better. I hope he can only get better if he can stay match fit, and that's Conor Mahoney. 12 appearances, only 4 starts, which is pretty shocking considering the difference he could make. My word for him is dynamic, because he can be. He really can be a difference maker in a team. I don't think I've given him a 7, which I think actually is probably slightly inflated to what it should be. What have you given him?
We actually agreed on this one.
Oh, 7. So there you go. So he. I agree with that, Jonesy, in terms of Fergie's not a bad player. I don't think he's a squad player at the moment. I do think he's dropped below that. It's someone that just doesn't make a difference in the game.
He used to be alright, but now he's just dropped.
Conor Mahoney, we'll move on to Mason Bennett, who second half of the season really has stepped up. I think he's really enjoyed playing as the second striker alongside Jed. That ability on the ball, that wanting to run in behind, the physicality that he can bring. But 3 words for him, and I think that it makes perfect sense, because he's electric when charged. If you plug him in, Mason Bennett seems to be able to battle and do what he wants on the pitch. If he's not up for it, he seems to get injured within 12 seconds and then just can't compete for the rest of the match. You know, he's made 35 appearances. I think everyone he's been subbed. But he's got 6 goals. I've given him an 8 out of 10, and I think that he's someone I'm really looking forward to. Better players around him next year. I think he'll really kick on. What would you say for Mason Bennett?
Mason Bennett, I'm giving a 9 out of 10. It might be a bit biased, but I feel like when he's played the striker position, I feel like he's been really good next to Jed, and he's alright at goal scoring. He
is alright at goal scoring. He's got a good goal scoring finish, which is what we need in the team. In fact, he's probably the only person in the squad that has that, other than the next player up, and that is Jed Wallace, the best footballing player in terms of the most talent in the squad, without a doubt. Exciting, fun to watch, hard-working, tireless, never stops chasing the ball down. He's on the left wing one time, he's on the right wing, he's all over the place, and he just brings that dynamism in the final third that you really want from a player. Obviously deadly from set pieces. He's played 43 times, has got 10 goals and 5 assists. Without a doubt, you take him out of our team and we are almost relegation fodder. That's how much of a difference I think that Jed Wallace makes to our side and our thing. My word for him is tireless. It could be so many of the different adjectives to describe him, because I think he's a fantastic player and we need to keep him. For me, Joe, what's that line? Was gone 9 out of half. He's class player. I've given him 9. You've given him
10.
Can't argue with that, to be fair. Jed Wallace, absolute legend. Tyler Bury, next player up. Personally, for me, I don't think Bury's championship level. I know people have been asking for him to get more of a challenge. Obviously, he's not started. He's made 12 appearances, all from the substitutes bench. I don't think he has the quality at championship level yet. I do think we loan him to a League One team, League Two maybe, and then see what happens him coming back. We saw what happened with Troy Parrott at the start of the season. Wasn't ready for championship level when he's come down from the Premiership. Sometimes you have to go lower, get more experience, and I think that's what Tyler Bury needs. My word for him is a little bit harsh, but it's what I've seen from him. He's ineffective. I haven't seen him provide a chance. I haven't seen him get a shot on target. If you're going to be a winger, that's what you need to do. If you compare him to the player that plays alongside him, he is a great prospect. He does need more game time, Steve, but he's got to do that. I don't think that can be at championship level yet. He's going to have to do that at League One, League Two. And I think that's why he's not been started by Gary Rowett, and I don't disagree with him. For me, he gets 5 out of 10. What's your thoughts on Tyler?
We agreed on this one too, 5 out of 10.
Oh, 5 out of 10. It's not often we agree. And so I'd keep him in and about the squad, but ideally I'd want him to go out on loan. Next up, Kenneth Snore, we should call him, rather than Kenneth Zohor, because...
Kenneth Snore.
Snore. You've gone for Snore. I think mine was better, to be honest. My word for him is disinterested, because that's what he seems to me. I know that he's a player that has talent. I know he is a player that can produce it. I've seen him when he was playing for Cardiff against us. But he has done absolutely nothing for us. 17 appearances, 10 starts, 2 goals. One of those goals was, I think, against Boreham Wood in the FA Cup. He's just done absolutely nothing for me. On the wages that he's going to be on, I just think he's been completely ineffective, and I wanted more from him. I was excited that we signed him. It's given us nothing, and for me, he gets 5 out of 10. What about you?
He's anonymous like Fergie. 5 out of 10.
And now we'll move on to Tom Bradshaw, another player. Listen, once we get to the strikers, this is where Millwall. I said about if we lost a player in Jed Wallace, we're potentially a chance of getting relegated. Well, if we had a top goal scorer, someone that got us 18 to 20 goals a season, we are in around the playoffs. There's absolutely no about it. We're so close to so many games that a goal scorer would tip us over the edge and push us towards the playoffs. So that's hoping what we're going to address in the closed transfers. And I think one player we're linked with, and I'm going to go on to him in a minute. But we'll talk about Tom Bradshaw, 27 for 27 appearances, 10 starts, 3 goals. He needs confidence. I do think there is a player in Tom Bradshaw. The other strikers that I'm going to go into, I don't think that the championship... I don't know whether Tom Bradshaw's that. I don't know whether he has a run in the team, he could provide it, because he did that at the start of his career. I can't completely rule him out. I thought he had a good game against Watford on Saturday. I'm not... I think that if he signed another year's deal, so I would get... If we're going to have him... I just don't think... He's not a high-end championship player at all. He's not a middle championship player at all. At best, he's probably going to get us 15 goals... And that's a right push, Tom Bradshaw. And so for me, I'm going to give him a 5 out of 10.
I give him a 6 out of 10.
It's difficult to justify 6 if I'm being completely honest. And now we'll move to... so Bradshaw and Budvarsson don't suit how we... Bradshaw and Budvarsson... Well, I'll move on to Budvarsson now. Because I have absolutely nothing good to say about him. Most players I try and be as optimistic as possible, but I just absolutely don't know what he does in the team. I want someone that in and around the box, they're going to at least get the shot on target. So often he just miscontrols it or it goes wide. How the guy is an international just absolutely baffles me.
Knocking Harry Kane in the box.
My word, JDB 3.5 out of 4. I have given him a 4. Zach, what have you given him?
A 2.
So the only player he's gone under him, under me for, is John David Varson. I really just don't see it, and my word for him is useless because he really just doesn't. I don't know what Gary Rowett, how he's played 10 more games, 37 appearances, 13 starts, 1 deflected goal. And guess what? We were at the game, the QPR game, when he silenced the fans. The irony that he silenced us because he scored a deflected goal. His only goal of the season. It just drives you absolutely mental sometimes how... When he gets angry, he does look a bit of a Viking, I've got to be honest. But he just doesn't get angry enough and he's ineffective. So we'll move on. We've given him a total of 6 out of 10 between us. So 6 out of 20. We'll move on to Matt Smith. Matt Smith is far more difficult to rate because when he's on the pitch, normally as a sub, he can score goals. I say can score goals because he's only got 3 goals. But he's only had 7 starts, 29 appearances, 7 starts. He is very dangerous coming off the bench. You know what you're going to get from him. You know he's going to be a danger for balls up and flick-ons. And I'm surprised he hasn't got more assists, actually.
Yeah.
He's so dangerous in the air. But quite simply, he's not championship level. We cannot keep him. You can't afford... The role that I see him have is the kicker in American football. So you wheel him on when you got a field goal. You bring Smith on when you get a corner. And he's going to be dangerous. You can't afford that in a squad, especially our size. I don't think he'd be on too much money, but you can't justify that in a squad of what we have. And unfortunately, I've given him a 5 out of 10. What have you given him?
A 5 out of 10. So in total, it's 4 more than Budvarsson.
Yeah, well, when that's got to be... So Chris has gone Bennett 7, Jed 8. I think a bit harsh. But Bury 5, can't disagree with that. And Bennett's gone off the screen. So I don't know what else what the other ratings were. So now we're going to move on to, just quickly, the 3 big strengths that we've got at the moment that we display. Our defensive positioning is excellent. Aerial duels, one of the best in the league. Defensively and aerially, obviously, that has been helped by Matt Smith when he has played. And interceptions, we have the best interceptions in the league. No small part because of Sean Hutchinson, who's fantastic at reading the play. And then weaknesses... Obviously, everyone knows our weaknesses. 1, we cannot get the ball in the back of the net. We have, in terms of finishing, a total of 120 appearances, including Troy Parrott. That includes subs as well. 10 goals from our strikers. 120 total appearances, 10 goals. You're not going to win many games, and you're not going to challenge for promotion if you cannot score goals. I hear you that we don't create many chances. I hear you that we are not the most attacking team. But when you get chances, you need to take them. And our strikers just simply don't do that. And obviously, we don't keep possession well enough. We don't have the players currently in the squad to do that. But looking at George Evans, looking at Kefton Beld moving forward, the signings that have come in look like they're better ball players. And I think it's better for the future. And I trust Gary Rowett to bring someone... I think we've only conceded a couple of headed goals. I don't actually think we've conceded a single headed goal.
No.
I don't think we've conceded a single-headed...
We're so good in the air.
Yeah, we haven't conceded a single-headed goal all season. For me, my highlight of the season, your highlight of the season is the same. I wanted it to be the QPR game because that's the one we actually got to go to, but it wasn't.
No.
And I will go on to that in a minute. So my highlight of the season was the Sheffield Wednesday 4-1. I thought that seeing us put out performance, we don't normally score 4 goals, but we completely dominated them, certainly second half. It's always good to get 4 goals in a game. Yeah, we do it so infrequently, and so for me that was my highlight of the season. Plus we scored 2 cracking goals. Malone's one was absolutely top notch. So what are your highlights of the season? My low point was actually the QPR game. The amount of rubbish that our club was put under, and obviously it was on Sky. It was a difficult atmosphere of 2,000, but we just seemed to be... it just seemed to be a horrible atmosphere around the club at the time because of, what seemed to be, loads of clubs are now not taking the knee. So we were kind of a pioneer in this. Millwall are not a racist club. We never will be, but we stand up for what we think is right. And to go to the one game we actually get to go to, for it to be overshadowed by that is just typical Millwall, really. It was just, that one moment this season, because obviously we didn't get tickets for the Derby game. We were in the second pot. But it's so disappointing that was taken away from us for QPR. it was great smelling the grass, and it will be great again, hopefully in August when we get to do it. But it really is that comment up there. It really is a season like no other, and I think we've done well to compete the way we have done. You know, you're looking through what we've done good, and that's we've missed the crowd, but we've managed to get over the hump of not winning at home, because that was a big monkey off our back.
Millwall are normally a team that do well under pressure, under the how many thousand people shouting down at them saying, "Come on, you Lions!"
I'm not one of those. I'm very quiet at the den.
Yeah, definitely.
You didn't seem to believe me. He can't hear out of that ear anymore, because obviously I shout so much. He's going to go deaf in that ear. But yeah, so that's the disappointing thing. Youth players for me to watch next season. I want to see Hayden Muller in the team more. Junior Tienza and Ola Ofe, who's currently on loan at Sutton United, is doing really well there. They might get promoted up into League Two. There is maybe he would need another time, another year, maybe League Two, maybe with Sutton if they do go up. We definitely need the fans back.
Maybe playing with Southend
But
now.
I want to see Junior Tienza around the squad. I want to see Ola Ofe, and I want to see Muller. That would leave us, unfortunately, because I'd get rid of Fielding. I don't see what he's too old. Goalkeeper-wise, in our squad, we've only got Bartosz. Defenders, we've got Hutch, Cooper, Danny Mack, Marlon Romeo, Muzza, Lenny, because I think he's going to be defensively positioned, Tienza and Muller. Midfielders, central midfielders, leaves us only 4 in Evans, Kefton Beld, Billy Mitchell, and obviously I'd keep Woods. I think there's a good chance we're going to keep him. The wingers, Jed, Bennett and Connor. And then strikers, we've only got Bradshaw and Oliafe, so you can see where we need to buy. So talking about where we need to buy, who would a rating for the manager? Robert's put that on there. I'm going to go 8 because
I really like Gary Rowell.
I'm going to go 8 because I think we've had a successful season. I think you can. Steve's gone 8 as well. Very like-minded. I think his transfers in the January, because our season was going one way at that stage. We were going closer and closer to that relegation zone. Teams like Birmingham. A couple of, like Sheffield Wednesday, obviously have never been able to come out of the bottom 3, but teams getting dragged into the bottom. Coventry obviously getting dragged down. We were starting to do that, and our resurgence in January. The manager, you trust the manager, you trust the process, you trust the fact that he's going to try and get out of this squad the most that he possibly could. I would, any one of the people that comment and criticise him as a manager, I dread to think what they think they're getting out, what they get out of it. I do think switching from 5-2-3 to a 5-3-2 was a good idea, but it's being flexible. It's getting out of your players the best, knowing what they can do well, and using that to your advantage. And I think he does that. It is I think this season, this summer, is the biggest rebuilding stage we will ever have in the club. And that includes when we went to the top flight in 88, 89. It includes when we went down in after the 90-91 season, where we obviously lost big players. I think this is the biggest transition of players we're ever going to have. Chris has given him 6. Poor choice of loan strikers. I agree with that. But then I don't think many clubs have been able to get good loan strikers. But this is going to be the biggest summer for Mill's transfer dealings that we've ever had, because we've got so many players out of contract and we've got such a small squad. So Lionel's giving him a 7. I agree with the JDB thing, but then we don't have anybody else, and that's my problem. It's all well and good, and I criticise as much as everybody about why are you bringing J-Bod on. But who else are you going to bring on? What are you going to do? You're going to put Billy Mitchell up front, because you might as well put Billy. I'll put my nan up front, and she's not here no longer. But you can't. We've only got the squad that we've got, and sometimes it doesn't matter how good the manager is. If the players on the pitch are not good enough to play football, which they are not, we're asking people, "Oh, it's boring football." Yeah, what do you expect from some of the players? You're not going to expect Hutch to dribble around the players like we had against Bournemouth. Look at the difference in the squad, the quality of the players in that Bournemouth squad compared to ours. Look at Watford. There's so many teams that have just come down from the Premiership, money falling out of their backsides. We're competing against them, and I think we've got to play to the strengths, and I think that Gary Rowett does that, and that's all you can ask from your manager. What would you give him out of 10?
I would give Gary Rowett an 8.5 to a 9. to a 9.
Okay, I think I can't disagree with that. I think he's done a good job for where we are. Now we're looking at potential signings. I think we're going to sign. We're obviously going to have to sign some strikers. Players that have played in and around the Championship, they're not currently there. You know, Benica Fobe, who was played 5 games for us. I don't know what you think about him. But I think he'd be an excellent signing. You know, he's obviously gone from some trauma. You know, he lost his daughter, who was 2 years old, which was a tragedy, and he's had a few illnesses and injuries. But I think that if someone that probably get him for a little bit bargain basement, I don't even know if we'd have to pay a transfer fee for him, but I think he would be a massively good addition to the team. He's always impressed me. Obviously, I don't know if he quite made it at Premiership level, but he's definitely good enough to be a Championship striker. Other strikers, obviously, we've been mentioned about Charlie White from Sunderland. I don't think he would fit what we do. I don't think that he's not someone that I would be interested in. Obviously, he has scored goals at Sunderland, but they do create so many chances at Sunderland. They're a team that are very attack minded. They do like to get the ball in the box, which suits White. We need a fox in the box. You get two or three chances, you're taking one of them because you're not going to get many chances, and that's where we're left with. Obviously, a striker that I've been really impressed. I've seen him on a couple of occasions. Is Humphreys from Rochdale. He's 23 years old. He's quick. He gets on the ball. He dribbles into good areas. He's a good finisher. Someone that I think could make a difference to the team. If you look at when we go back to what Gary Rowett tried to sign, remember he tried to sign Mowat from Barnsley, who's been their player of the season and has been excellent in the second half. We put a bid in for him, he turned us down. Well, we didn't have to transfer fee, but we put a bid in for him and he just turned it down, saying he wanted to stay at Barnsley until the end of the season, and then suggest his options. I think we'll go back in for him, and I hope we do. Obviously, Barnsley could go to the Premiership. We won't get him in that case. Oh, wow. But if you know, Mowat would be an excellent addition. And Ryan Porteous, who's a Hibernian defender, obviously we went in for him in the January transfer for window. He didn't play for 5 or 6 games after we went in for him, and I think that's because obviously he was unsettled. But he's another player that I think would make a good difference to our team and give us an extra strength in that centre back positions. Is there anyone that out there that you think that we should sign? Obviously, you know, you're looking at, was it Clark Harris, the Peterborough?
Yeah, his new FIFA card is quite good.
Yeah, but we can't play him on FIFA. We was asked, actually, a question on Twitter, various jams on Twitter, put what's up with J-Bod. Nothing. He's not going to be in and around the squad, I don't think. I think that there is a chance that he's going to go. And
let's hope that Gary Rowett gets rid of him, in hope that he doesn't play him. Yeah,
there's 2 teams that have done the double against us this season, and that is Swansea and who else? One other team has done it.
Barnsley?
No, Barnsley didn't.
Oh.
I can't remember. But 2 teams we've done the double over, Rotherham and Wickham. Rotherham and Preston. You don't often say that we normally beat that. Rumours of Adam Reach. Well, he's a very good player. He's a very good attacking midfielder, and I certainly wouldn't turn down Adam Reach. Obviously, Sheffield Wednesday, if they get relegated, Scott Malone will stay. 100% Scott Malone's going to stay. I don't think for a second. I think Scott Malone's going to stay, and I also think Ryan Woods is going to stay, for better or worse, or what other people say. I would include them in my squad now. I think they are done deals as far as I'm concerned. Scott Malone will definitely say.
Blackburn.
What about Blackburn?
That they were the other team that done the double over. Right?
Yes, they were. We were awful against them in the first game. No, we didn't. We beat them at home. Did we beat them?
Did we?
I'm sure we beat. No,
Blackburn 2-1. Then
I can't even find it.
There's
only very few games we've been outclassed and outplayed in, and that was one of the ones with the Bournemouth game. You know, obviously we went through that 5 draw period where we just couldn't, you know, lost before it and then lost after it. It was a dreadful run of games, but we've picked it up. Obviously now 4 without a win. We've only lost 2 games on the bounce twice. What are the Millwall refund options? So Millwall have been fantastic. I know, Nick, thanks for joining us. Ipswich have brought theirs out today, and they have not refunded the iFollow. So they've charged their season ticket holders for the iFollow, whereas Millwall haven't. So we, as Millwall season ticket holders, we've basically been given our next season ticket for nothing, minus the 2 games if you got to go to 2 games, or 1 game if you got to go to 1 game of the games. They took that off the season ticket, so you had to pay for those 2 games effectively, and they gave us the iFollow for this season for nothing. So the club have absolutely pulled a blinder. I do know that under 18s, I think, and under 12s for Ipswich also got free season tickets for next year. But no one, I think that the club has massively looked after us. The chairman has been fantastic. And we've done, I think we're going in the right direction under this manager. I was asked a question earlier about the European Super League. The European Super League is everything that's wrong with football, and that's money. And I equate this European Super League to the Premier League. This is what, Sky and all of these big broadcasting agents that are banging on about the European Super League. It's the Premier League's fault. They have put it into teams' heads that you are different from everybody else. The Premier League is just the top flight of English football. It's not a separate entity in my eyes. It shouldn't be paid. It should be paid all the way through the pyramid, not just the top 20 teams in the division. And then if you get relegated, you get a parachute payment. Look at the 2 teams that have already gone up: Norwich, Watford. 2 teams that have just come down. That is not acceptable. That is not sustainable. And that is why clubs consistently throughout football run on a loss. That cannot continue. The European Super League is born out of the greed of Premiership teams. And there wasn't even enough for the Premier League teams at the top of it. And we'll say top of it because some of the teams ain't even on the top of the Premier League. But they're so desperate for money that they feel like they want to get rid of competition. It would kill football. Nick's right. They were talking about it in 1998. They've been talking about it consistently. But if you kill competition, you kill football. Simple as that. And I don't think it was ever going to happen properly because the fans won't stand for it. And fans ultimately do decide on what happens because we do have the power. Believe me, at Millwall, we know as a club, if things happen down the den, we're not throwing plastic pigs on the pitch. There's windows being broken. There's, cars being trashed. There's all manner of stuff. We will not tolerate stuff like that. And I think football fans for far too long have been quiet and allowed this disproportionate money distribution to happen, and it needs to stop. And we need to stop it right now because this is where the momentum is going, and we can make a difference. Fans can make a difference all around the country, and we've got to do it. I don't see, and it's the Premier League's fault. Insert quality, exactly. It's right. You look at what our best lineup could be next year. We just need another striker, and we've got, like I said, maybe bring on our feedback from Sutton United. I'm not sure if he'd be quite ready for the level. But that's where we're going to end it. Thank you very much. What final thoughts do you want to say for the season?
We've played quite well defensively. We need a new striker. We need a new striker. If we don't get a new striker, we basically have no chance of getting promoted.
No, you're right. And we might get relegated. That's the thing. Next year is a pivotal year. We're going to change. It's a year we can easily get relegated, or it's a year that we can get promoted because it's likely we're going to be a year we finish 12th. But that's who we are. We're Millwall. No one likes us, and we really don't care. But more than anything, I really hope that we're back in the stands, able to watch it. A full pack then. We'd love nothing more than that. We really appreciate your views, your comments that you put on the live video all the way through the season. Obviously, we've got 2 more games to go. And honestly, we read your comments every single week, and we cannot say thank you enough. Do you want to say thank you individually?
Just thank you very much for all your comments, and even today in the live video, you've all been you've all really agreed with Dad with the ratings, but
well, you're generous.
But I just feel like we have a very good 1.9k subscribers.
Yeah, well, we tried to get to 2,000. We're not going to make it, I don't think. We got to 1.9. But we appreciate you. Austin from West Virginia, all the way from West... I'm not going to sing this. Yeah, you look at me because I sing that song all the time. I'm not going to sing it now. Thank you very much for watching the live video because he keeps asking me for them. So we've done one. Your support's amazing. No one likes us.
We don't care.
Come on, you Lions.